We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahe Ejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we start a new chapter from the text called as Panchadasi. We have already covered chapter 10, chapter 3, and chapter 4. Today we will start chapter 5, which consists of 8 verses. Panchadasi as a text is a text written by a great teacher of Vedanta. His name is Swami Vidyaranya. Like Shankaracharya, Swami Vidyaranya is famous. He has written several commentaries on different subjects of Vedanta. Another very popular text which he has written is called as Anubhuti Prakasha, where he has written commentary on Upanishads. So 2 main texts which are very famous are Panchadasi and Anubhuti Prakasha. The third text which he has written is Jivan Mukti Viveka. Jivan Mukti is another text which is also popular along with Panchadasi. Normally, people study Panchadasi and then go into Jivan Mukti text. What is this text dealing with? This text is dealing with Advaita Vedanta. The essence behind Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra is the revelation of the spiritual content in this body-mind complex and in the universe. There is only one spiritual content. It is the same in this body. It is the same outside the body. Unless and until we come to study the spiritual texts like the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, a normal human being will never know this spiritual nature. If you ask a layman, do you know yourself? He will say, yes, of course I know myself. I am this body. 99.99% of the people in this world will say, I am this body. I am born, I live for a few years, and then I leave this world. I go through the emotions in my mind, sometimes joyful, sometimes sorrowful, and it is my emotions. I am the owner of those emotions. All these answers are not wrong. What Vidyaranya tries to explain to us is, there is a higher level compared to this level of Vyavahara. Vyavahara means interactions. We have two levels of existence. One is called as Vyavaharika Satyam, and the second is called as Paramarthika Satyam. Vyavaharika Satyam means our experiences in waking, dream, and sleep. Paramarthika Satyam means our absolute existence. Relative existence is Vyavaharika Satyam, in which I experience my physical body in the waking state, the mind specifically in the dream state, and without the body and mind in the sleep state. That is my relative experience. I go through these three states continuously from birth to death. All of us are familiar with these three states and familiar with our relative existence. Why is it called relative? Because it comes and goes. The dream body is not seen in the waking state. The causal body is not seen. The causal body in the sleep state is not seen or experienced in the waking state. The physical body which I experience in the waking state is not seen in the dream or in the sleep state. So that we call the three states which are particular, which are basically the states of the mind, we call it relative. Apart from this relative states of the mind, all of us feel that there is something in me which doesn't change. Right from birth till date, all of us, whether you are a jnani who is well versed with the scriptures, whether you are an ajnani who doesn't know the scriptures, the general experience of everybody is, I don't change. There is something in me which is not changing. That something which doesn't change is called as Atma at the individual level. That is the first lesson you should learn in Vedanta. What is Atma? Atma is the self which does not change at any point of time. The scriptures tell us this Atma doesn't change even when you change the body. The mind takes new bodies. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Like we change the clothes, similarly we change our bodies. Lord Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So there is something which Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna, which is called as Dehi, the indweller principle in the body. That indweller's principle is given different names according to different contexts. I'm giving you an introduction to the overall spiritual science. There are no notes for this. I'm just talking to you from extempore without any notes, just with the background of what I have gathered. So this Atma is the spiritual essence which is revealed by the scriptures. What is Anatma then? Anatma is what is sakshyam. Sakshyam means witnessed. Atma is sakshi, the witness. Anatma is sakshyam, the witnessed. I'm using two technical terms just to make it clear to you that this spiritual principle is an independent principle. It is called as sakshi because it is not connected with the body. It is an independent principle. What about sakshyam? Sakshyam means the witnessed. The witnessed is the relative principle. It is seen, drishyam. It is made up of Panchabhutas, bhautikam. It is with gunas, sagunatva. It has got modifications, vikaraha. And lastly, it is agama pahyatva. These are the 5 factors of Anatma. Okay? This is how Vidyaranya presents, in short, what is Atma, what is Anatma. This is the essence of Vivek Chudamani, a very popular text by Shankaracharya. These 5 points, again I repeat. Number 1, it is drishyam. Drishyam means seen. The body is seen. The mind is experienced. Whatever is experienced, whatever is seen by the 5 senses is Anatma. It is not me. Second point, whatever is with gunas, saguna. What are the gunas? Rajas, tamas, sattva. Sattva, rajas, tamas, the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that is sagunatva. Third point, it is made up of bhautikas, 5 elements. The fourth point, they are all modifications of prakriti, always changing, vikaraha. Always changing, continuously changing. When you look at the world outside, we don't feel the change, but there is a change happening. Morning comes, afternoon comes, evening comes, again the next day comes again, but slowly they change. The trees are changing, the birds are changing, the animals are changing, the mountains are changing. They're all at an atomic level, everything is changing. A scientist will tell you everything is changing, changing, changing. All that is Anatma. And the 5th point is agama pahyatva. It comes and goes in experience. It arrives in the waking state, it disappears in the dream state. But do you exist in the dream state? Yes, yes, yes. We all exist in the dream state. Do you exist in the sleep state? Yes, of course I exist in the sleep state. Otherwise, I will put chili powder in my eyes and I will remain awake. All of us, we are existing in the sleep state as Atma, as the changeless principle in this universe. There is only one changeless. Remember, changeless means what? It is always there. It was there before the birth of the body. It was there before creation of this universe, of Panchabhutas. It will be there when the body is gone. It will be there when the creation is gone. There is only one principle. That is called as sakshi. That is called as Atma. That is called as the spiritual essence. That is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutras. Only one principle. Everything else is material in nature. There is only one spiritual essence behind the individual and behind the universe. And that is the spiritual essence. Unchanging. Nirgunaha. It is not with gunas. It doesn't fall in the category of gunas. It doesn't fall in the category of the sense objects. Therefore, I can never experience the Atma with the sense organs. It doesn't fall under the field of mind. Mind knows emotions. Mind generates thoughts. That is the field of the mind. Mind can reason. It can know, it can decide, determine, it can will. But mind by itself is jada. That is the revelation of the scriptures. That is what we are learning in Panchadasi. As we go through these verses, you will learn more and more about the differentiation between the spiritual essence in me and the material body, material intellect, material mind, and material world. That is the topic of the 5th chapter of Panchadasi. It is called Mahavakya Viveka Prakaranam, the differentiation of the duality. We will study the duality. What is the duality? The spirit and matter. Within the matter principle, there is a lot of differences. But behind the matter principle, there is only one substratum, which is Atma, when connected with the individual body, and it is called as Brahman when it is identified with the whole cosmos. In all these scriptural texts, this topic of the identity between the individual and the total, this topic of oneness is the essence of the entire spiritual knowledge. Shankaracharya says, if you understand Mahavakya, you have understood Bhagavad Gita. If you have understood Mahavakyam, you have understood the essence of all the Upanishads. If you have understood the Mahavakyam, you have understood Brahma Sutras. So you can see how important is this knowledge, which is Mahavakyam Viveka. Swami Vidyaranya takes this in 8 verses and he covers all the 4 main Mahavakyas. Okay, so that is how this particular chapter is very, very important for us to understand. See, we are all walking the path of spiritual journey. In our journey, we have to go through the scriptural texts. We go through Bhagavad Gita, we go through Upanishads, we go through Brahma Sutras. But when we study them, sometimes we don't understand the details of what they are trying to reveal. Here is a beautiful chapter by a very profound teacher who teaches the same essence in his own style. The same 4 Mahavakyas is taught in a style which a student can pick up and try to understand in his own self. All of us, when we go through this in the next 12 weeks or so, we should learn to understand it as our own experience. Not that there is some Atma somewhere, not that there is some Brahman somewhere, but we should apply it in our own nature. It is my nature. If you try to learn it in this fashion, then you will get the benefit of this study. What is the main benefit you will get? Suppose you say, yes, I have understood this whole chapter very well. What is the main benefit? The main benefit is you will not be too much worried about your body, the condition of your body, the condition of your mind, and generally the condition of the world, because they are all relative phenomena. They come, they go, they come, they go. It is experienced, again it disappears. Again it is experienced, it again disappears. The only medicine for sorrow is the knowledge of Atma. Very beautifully described in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, from verse number 12 to verse number 30. Lord Krishna brings out the essence of the whole spiritual nature of human beings in these verses. The same essence is said in all the Upanishads, that there is a spiritual essence in us. And when I own up that spiritual essence, I become free from identification with the body as me and the mind as me. See, this is a cognitive change. Something happens in my mind. I cannot show it outside. I cannot show it to any of my friends or relatives or my parents or anybody, but it happens inside. When it happens, I am free. I am free from the worries. Worries, will it go? Will it be 100% gone? No. Experience of the worry will still be there because of prarabdha karma. Because of prarabdha karma, I will still have a waking state in which I will experience this body, I will experience the mind. But in my own understanding, there will be a reduction of sorrow. There will be a reduction of worry. The intensity of all the mental problems will reduce. That is the benefit of this study. When you get those benefits, you are called as Jivan Muktaha. The nature of Jivaha is the nature of Ahamkara, the ego in us. That ego factor loosens its impact on the sakshi. Today, the sakshi is 100% identified with the mind. 100%. There is no gap between the sakshi and the mind. By the study of Mahavakya, each one of us can bring about a small change in the mind. The mind is an instrument which I use during the waking state. That is the understanding I get. It is not me, it is an instrument. Like I use a car, I use the body, I use the mind. This is with reference to the spiritual essence, the Atma in me. But in my relative day-to-day world, when I'm involved with the world, what happens? I am the mind. I am the body. That gap which is generated in our own cognition of the world and the body and the mind, the distance which is created can be experienced by us. When that is experienced, you will find that you are not affected as much as before. Before the knowledge of Mahavakyam, you were totally identified with the body as me, with the mind as me. After the knowledge of this 5th chapter of Mahavakya Viveka, the changes, body exists, mind exists at a relative level. They are not there at the absolute level. Okay, so with this introduction to this chapter and to the overall scheme of what we are going to discuss, now I will go into the notes which I have circulated to you. And these notes, you can refer to them, you can study them, and you can absorb what is being taught. So that is the beauty of these sessions. I give you notes. You don't have to write the notes yourself. If you want to, you can still write. There are some students who still write the notes when I'm talking, and they find it useful. It's okay, that's fine. Most of the people, if you want, you can go through these notes, make up your own notes. But the most important thing is, you must try to reflect on what you're learning. The entire spiritual science, the study of spiritual science consists of 3 portions: Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana, as explained in Prardaneka Upanishad. We all do Shravanam. Very good. More and more Shravanam will result in Mananam. Automatically, your mind will go into the area of Atma and Anatma. When the Shravanam is increased, automatically in your mind will start thinking, oh, this is my mind, this is not me, this is my mind, this is not me. That differentiation, that Viveka Buddhi is developed when there is increased Shravana. And that is a very important state. After that reflection is Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means what? Whatever is the old notions I have in my mind, that I am the body, I was born, I am undergoing sorrow, all that is a wrong notion in the mind. Nididhyasana is a process by which you tell your mind, this is not my real nature. I experience it, but it is not my real nature. But my real nature is, I am sakshi. Don't forget the word sakshi till you leave the spiritual science, the study of spiritual texts. This word sakshi is extremely important because anytime you want to know your nature, you should remember sakshi. What is the meaning of sakshi? Sakshi means witness of something. Suppose you are in a 10th floor of a building and you're looking down on transactions happening on the ground. You're not involved directly with the transactions, but you are experiencing it. That is the nature of sakshi. You are present. In that presence only the transactions are happening. Sanidhya matrena. Sanidhya matrena means what? In the presence of the sakshi, blessed by sakshi, the anatma functions. We'll study more and more of this sakshi and its nature and all that in this particular text. There are 119 pages in this 8 verses, and as we go through this, I will be going very slowly in all this 8 verses, because they are dealing with a topic which is easily not understood by the mind. It is something slightly beyond the mind, beyond the sense organs. Okay? Sample Mahavakyas. What are the Mahavakyas, and where do you find these Mahavakyas? That is what I want to explain first. There are 4 Vedas. All of you, I'm sure you are aware of this. You're all senior students who have gone through the Bhagavad Gita, who have gone through the Upanishads. Even if you have not gone through, you can go through this chapter. You will not waste your time. You will benefit from these sessions. And because this is the essence of all what you will study in Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutras. So Rig Veda, Shukla Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda. These are the 4 Vedas in which you will find many Upanishads. Rig Veda, in this particular context, we are taking one Upanishad, which is called as Aitareya Upanishad. In that Upanishad, the 3rd chapter, the 1st section, 1st mantra, deals with Mahavakyam. Mahavakyam is Prajnanam Brahma. That is the first Mahavakyam which we will be analyzing in this 5th chapter. The second Mahavakyam comes from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is from Shukla Yajurveda. So the first 2 verses of chapter 5 deal with Prajnanam Brahma. The second, 3rd, and the 4th verse, they deal with Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahma Asmi occurs in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the 1st chapter, 4th section, 10th verse. Suppose you say, I want to learn a little bit more of these Mahavakyams. my suggestion is go to those chapters of those Upanishads, read the description from whatever books you can lay your hands on. Chinmaya Mission has got commentary on all the Upanishads. You can read, you can just refer to them. They are also available in PDF formats. You can refer to them. There are many other authors who have got commentaries on these Upanishads. You can go to the reference, those reference chapters, sections, and read the sections. For those who have attended my talks of Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, whenever I refer to the Mahavakyam, you can go through my notes on those Mahavakyams. I have covered almost all the Upanishads before. I'm covering it again. So notes are available. So you can go through those notes, because when you study those notes, that is one reference point. Reading the commentary. Suppose you say, no, I want to go still deeper. Then my suggestion is read Shankaracharya's Bhashya of the Mahavakyas occurring in all those Upanishads. They are brilliant. See, they are Shankaracharya's descriptions and his commentary on the Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Upanishad. There is no parallel to it. They are absolutely brilliant. They are the best available in our literature. If you go through them, again, you will find deeper insights into this Mahavakyam. The third Mahavakyam for study is Samaveda. From Samaveda, it is from Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, where 9 times the teacher teaches Shvetaketu, the student. Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. You are that, you are that, you are that. Tattvamasi is the most popular Mahavakyam out of the 4. Most popular. Anybody who wants to learn the Mahavakyam, the first thing which comes into mind is Tattvamasi. You are that. You are what? You are that spiritual essence. Prajnanam Brahma means what? This consciousness in me is the consciousness in the entire universe. Aham Brahmasmi means what? This consciousness is my real nature. Aham. I am that consciousness. And the last Mahavakyam for our analysis in this chapter is from Atharvana Veda, Mandukya Upanishad, the second mantra which has the Mahavakyam in it. It is, I am Atma Brahma. The Samaveda Tattvamasi is covered in the 5th and 6th verse of this chapter. I am Atma Brahma is covered in the 7th and the 8th chapter. The 7th and the 8th verse of this chapter. I am Atma Brahma comes also in another Upanishad, which is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Madhu Brahmana, the last portion, where I am Atma Brahma is indicated. Okay, so that is the broad view of these 8 verses. What we are going to study the next 10-12 weeks, that is what is the broad view, bird's eye view. Before going into the first verse and the other introductions for that, I will give you the essence of those 8 verses. See, this is the way I always teach. I always try to give the essence in a tree format, a bird's eye view. and then explain what is there in each of these verses. Mahavakyam is Tatparya Bodhaka Vakyam. Tatparya Bodhaka Vakyam means it is the essence of the entire teaching of Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita or the Brahmasmi. What is the Tatparyam? Tatparyam means the essence. Bodha means knowledge, the essential knowledge. Vakyam means a sentence which deals with the essential teaching is called as Mahavakyam. This Mahavakyam is the source, is the, normally we say Bhagavan is the source of happiness, peace and security in this world. And Bhagavan is my very adhishthana. Bhagavan means what? It is this spiritual essence. Bhagavan is only a name and form which we normally learn from the scriptures. But the real nature of Bhagavan is formless. And that nature is called as, described as Satchit Ananda. How do I understand this spiritual essence like Tattvamasi? You are that. The way we should understand is, there are two things in this world. One is the Jivatma and the second is Paramatma. The consciousness associated with this body is called as Jivatma. I repeat again, that spiritual essence which is associated with the body is called as Jivatma. When it is associated with the Sharira Trayam. Sharira Trayam means what? Three bodies. The gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. It doesn't mean that the body exists by itself. Body is known because of the reflection of consciousness in the body. For example, I have a gross body. How do I know this? Because there is a reflection of that pure spiritual essence in this body. How to know that spiritual essence separately? The scriptures teach me, you remove the three bodies and the reflections. What is remaining is the original consciousness. That original consciousness is not in the presence of time and space. There is no time, because in that consciousness is the source of time and space. If you're trying to understand this, these are all very subtle principles of Vedanta. What I'm teaching here is the highest knowledge of the scriptures. Let your mind listen to it and float beyond the mind. Your mind has a capacity. So we are talking about something which is not within the purview of the mind. What is revealed by the Upanishad is the essence behind the mind, which is called as Chaitanya. Okay, so what we are dealing in the whole cosmos is Jivatma and Paramatma. Jivatma is associated with the individual body. What is the nature of Paramatma? Paramatma is Prapanchatrayam. Prapanchatrayam means what? It is the three bodies at the total level. You can imagine this. It is not something which your mind will go to it immediately, but you can know it. This body is there. There are so many bodies are there. If I add up all the bodies, I will get all the gross bodies of the world, of the cosmos. That is called as prapanchaha, the totality. The gross body of the entire world, and that is the cosmos. Nothing else, but it is only the gross body. It is the inner by nature. Your mind can understand, yes, I have this body, somebody else has another body, a third person has another body. Add up all this, it will become what? It will become samashti. The individual body in Sanskrit is called as vyashti. Vyashti is individual, samashti is total. That total body with the reflection is called as Paramatma. Param Atma. Supreme Atma. Individual body is Jiva Atma. So, how to understand this Mahavakyam? Mahavakyam teaches me that the essence behind the Jivatma is Chaitanya, consciousness, existence, bliss. The essence behind Paramatma is consciousness, existence, bliss. When we study the Mahavakyams and the Bhashyams of Shankaracharya, this block which I have given you, Jivatma, Paramatma, Chaitanyam, this block, your mind will understand this very clearly when you go through the Bhashyam commentary of Shankaracharya. Very, very clearly, without a doubt, it is guaranteed. See, only problem with spiritual study is it requires time. It is not something which you can just listen once and then forget about it and then come to the next class, or go into some YouTube, some sessions here and there, learn, and that is not the way to do real study of Upanishads. The real study is methodical study, systematic study, continuously studying over a period of years, 5 years, 10 years. Then you will enjoy the study because you're doing it systematically. You have done Tattva Bodha, you do Atma Bodha, you do Bhagavad Gita, come to the Upanishad, learn the Mahavakyam, learn to understand how to clear the doubts in your mind through Brahma Sutra, and then be free. That is the way we have to take up the study of Vedanta. So Mahavakyam, what is Mahavakyam? I have explained in those 3 points. Then, how does the Mahavakyam reveal the oneness between the Jivatma and the Paramatma? That I have explained with the box below. Now let us try to go to the first verse. I'm not going to the details of it, but I'm just giving you a gist. We will study the details when we go through the verses. But here is a gist. In this session and in the next session, I will just go through these gist. It will be a slow process, doesn't matter, because we are studying something which is very subtle. Let my mind go through this, listen to this, understand, grasp it, reflect on it, clear the doubts, become free. That is the process. Prajnanam Brahma. Aitareya Upanishad, chapter 3, the first section, first one. What is the meaning? What is this? What is this prajnanam? Prajnanam means consciousness. How does the Upanishad reveal this consciousness? In Aitareya Upanishad, that consciousness by which all jnana indriyams and karma indriyams function is called as prajnanam. First level of understanding. We are going to meditate on this in today's meditation session through another Upanishad. I will go through that in about 10 minutes time. Here you should note that there is some spiritual essence, that spiritual light in me, which is me. My essence, it's my nature. That is where I am always there. That is my essence. What is this body which I experience? What is it, this class which I'm listening to? It is a temporary state. But I have to understand I am of that nature. So there is a power behind this body. That power is called as prajnanam. That power is the original consciousness, but it can be reflected, it can be experienced, it can have, it is so powerful that by its mere presence, the subtle body can take a reflection of that power. So all our minds, which are made up of these subtle elements, have the power to reflect that consciousness. See how deep we are going now. See, this whole methodology is very deep. Slowly your mind, when it listens to this teaching, it will become purer and purer, and it will start understanding something which it has never been exposed to. It's like walking into a cave and throwing a light. Suddenly, for millions of years, there was darkness in the cave. In that cave, you are throwing a light. In that, when the small torchlight you throw, the darkness which was there in the cave suddenly is removed. And what comes is the brightness of light. Similarly, our mind is like that cave. Shankaracharya explains this way in another text. Our mind and intellect is like this cave. It's full of ignorance, dark. I am removing that darkness slowly by understanding the Mahavakya. When I understand the Mahavakya, the darkness of my existence goes away. I am able to go beyond the sleep state. The sleep state is the ignorant state in which I have the ignorance of this whole universe. I don't know myself. I don't know the world. I don't know the body. I don't know the mind. I don't know this world. That is the Maya Shakti. It is the Mula Avidya. These are terms used in Vedanta. Mula Avidya means it is the ignorance in which I have been living for many, many lives. That is what is, this is how Vedanta explains it, okay? So, original consciousness is reflected in the mind because mind is like the mirror. The nature of mirror is what? It will reflect my face. The moment I stand in front of the mirror, my face is reflected. Similarly, when the mind wakes up every day morning, it suddenly gets a power of consciousness. And then what happens? I experience this world. Dakshinamurti Stotram, Nana Chit Ghato Darastita Mahadipat Prabhavaswaram explains this whole essence of the mechanics of the original consciousness, how it reflects in the mind of a person, and through that light, I experience the world. So Prajnanam is the consciousness which is independent. Through that light, the mind first gets illumined, and when the mind gets illumined, it will illumine the sense organs. When the sense organs are illumined, the whole world of sense objects are known by me. The knowing principle behind the sense organs, behind the mind, is called as prajnanam. Prajnanam is consciousness. Whatever the chit, whatever the prajnanam illumines, that alone the reflection illumines. Example, on a Purnima day, when the moon is full, what we see, it can illumine the earth. On a full moon day, we experience that the earth can be illumined by the moon. And we say that the moon is illumining the earth. But what is the fact? Moon is jadam. It is inert. It has no capacity to illumine anything. Similarly, our mind is jadam. It has no capacity to function, exactly like how we are in the sleep state. But in the waking state, what happens? The mind functions. Suddenly I become aware of my emotions. Suddenly I become aware of the house in front of me, the world in front of me. I see my own body first. So it is this consciousness which is the essence of the whole creation. Like the moon doesn't have its own light, it borrows light from the sun. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. Kathopanishad, Mundakopanishad has this mantra. The meaning of that is there is consciousness, prajnanam, which is the illuminator of all the minds, all the sense organs, and through those sense organs, the world is illumined. So what is the Mahavakyam indicating? It is indicating the chit, the consciousness. Tat Tvam asi. Tat is an indicative meaning. It is a lakshyartha. It is not the vachyartha. I'm giving you two terms, lakshyartha, vachyartha. What is the vachyartha? Vachyartha means a popular meaning. What is the popular meaning of that? Popular meaning is this body, this mind. Who are you? Popular meaning, I am the body, I am the mind. But what is the lakshyartha? The indicative meaning of I, the lakshyartha is consciousness. So that is how you should understand Mahavakya. You should not take the Mahavakya and apply it to the body and mind. That is called as Vachyartha. Suppose you apply it to the Chidabhasa, the reflection of consciousness. It is again Vachyartha. Okay? So this is the meaning of Prajnanam Brahma. Okay, I will take up the meaning of second verse next week. I will start with the verse number 2, just to give you the introduction. These are all introductions to the chapter 5 of Panchadasi. I want to give you the broad view so that when you enter the actual verses and they go through the meanings and all that, it becomes very clear. We are in all these 8 verses, we are talking of the one same entity called as Atma or Brahman, or consciousness, the Chit principle, or existence, the Sat principle, or Ananda, the bliss principle. Okay? Try to go through these lectures, go through the sessions again at your free time. When you come back next week, you will remember we will start from the second verse and then we move on like that. It is important. Don't try to miss a session because then you will miss the link. Okay, so the first Prajnanam Brahma is again explained in the second verse also. Verse 1 and 2 deal with the same Mahavakya. What is the second verse? We'll see next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are no messages in the chat box. Tulsidas, you were saying something. If you want to say something, maybe you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Or anybody else who have a question, they can ask. Shanmugam, can you unmute everybody?
So there is no question. Hari Om. Thank you.
Yeah, Hari Om, Tulsidas, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
And if you have anybody else, if you have a question or anything about today's session, you can go ahead and express yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions for today's session? Has everybody understood today's session? Was it useful?
Very useful. Yes.
Thank you, Venkatesh. This is a new chapter we are learning, and it gives us a new insight into, even though we may have heard the Mahavakyas before, but it will definitely give you a new insight into the Mahavakyas and the Upanishads.
I just have one general question.
Yes.
See, like, if the consciousness is the one which is always, I mean, the both body, mind is always witnessed by consciousness. Consciousness is always there. Whether it's a waking state, whether it's a dream state or a sleep state or whichever is the state. So, I mean, I just would like to know what is making consciousness to witness and causing this change of waking state and what do you call sleep state and all, like a timer, these things are happening.
Yes,
Like
you're right. Yes, it's a good question. Very, very deep question you're asking. See, what is the? See, you should always remember that when we say it is consciousness, we are talking about Ishvara. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am in everybody. I am the cause of this entire universe. In the 10th and the 11th chapter, he beautifully summarizes that. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, he says that I am the one who is sitting inside all the bodies, and I make the bodies revolve like a puppet is there, and the puppet is just revolving. 18th chapter, 61st verse, 64th verse, 18th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. Now, you should understand that consciousness is Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is responsible for this entire creation. Number one. Number two is a karma phala data. Whatever is the result of actions done by jivas, he is responsible to give the phalam. For example, the mind has existed in the previous birth. Mind has done certain actions through the body. Those actions have not given all the results in that birth. So the Lord is only trying to reveal to us that in every birth, human beings come. I am the provider, the general provider of the consciousness, existence, and bliss in this universe. General, he is a samanya karanam. But what is a vishesha karanam? Vishesha karanam of the universe is karma. Karma means for the sake of jivas' benefit, the Bhagwan has created this entire universe of names and forms of Panchabhutas, and he is the karma phanadata. When we ask this question, why, in what is this timer? The timer is the consciousness. It is only telling you to wake up, dream, sleep. Waking, dream, sleep. This is the general nature of Bhagavan. In that field of consciousness, the jivas, with their own minds, they wake up, they dream, they sleep. They wake up, they dream, and they sleep. Who is causing this thoughts in the mind? It is the jiva. What is consciousness? Consciousness is not a part of the body and mind. That is the ultimate knowledge which we have to learn. Ishvara Swarupam is Sagunam and Nirgunam. Sagunam is what we experience as the whole Jagat. But there is a Nirgunam Tattvam which we are not aware of. That is what is being revealed by Upanishads. That is what is being revealed to us. When my mind goes in this direction of Mahavakyam and learns the Mahavakyam, mind gets purified and it gets the benefit of this knowledge. Then it will not ask this question, why is this creation? Till the ignorance goes, we will be talking about creation, we will have doubts, we'll have questions, but once the knowledge is perfect, these doubts will go away from my mind. That is the way in which the Upanishads and the Acharyas, they describe. What happens to a jnani, what happens to a ajnani, all that is very, very beautifully explained. So your question, how this is all is happening, you will get a better understanding when you go deeper and deeper into the study of the Mahavakyam. At the end of the Mahavakyam, if it is clearly understood, you will not have any questions, because that light is very powerful. That light of consciousness is extremely powerful. When that light, you own it as your nature, all the samshaya, all the avidya which your mind has is burned forever. Till that time, just try to listen more and more to the Upanishads. Very good question, but it has got a very deep relevance to what we are discussing. Good question, Venkatesh. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just seeing that the one slide what you have displayed, where Chit and Chidavasa, where it is indicating Vibheda, Veda, and Sambandha.
Correct.
So individually, like what it is saying is, okay, Chit is with reference to Vibheda and Chidavasa is Veda, but the role of Sambandha is also, that is making what you are, I mean, just now said that the karma phala data
Yes,
is also.
that is missing. That is missing. Yeah. But this is exactly what Shankaracharya brings it out. What I have given you is the essence of what Shankaracharya says in the introduction bhashyam. In the introduction bhashyam, Shankaracharya connects the karma kanda portion, what I explained to you now as the karma, with the jnana kanda. So he connects. There is a, you know, when you go through the bhashyam of Shankaracharya in Keno Upanishad, there is a bhashyam, like Adhyasa bhashyam is there. There is a Sambandha bhashyam in Keno Upanishad.
Okay.
I'm writing the notes for the Sambandha bhashyam right now. I'm just writing the notes. It will be coming into the website in about say 2 months or 3 months. I'm writing the entire commentary of Shankaracharya of Keno Upanishad.
Yeah, that will be very nice. Yeah. I have gone through that Adhyasa Bhashyam, but Sambandha Bhashyam, that is not available.
Correct. Sambandha Bhashyam is the one which connects the Karma Kanda with the Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda deals with karma. Karma means you're talking about Jiva Jagat Ishvara format.
Yeah.
The moment you drop the Karma Kanda, come to Jnana Kanda, what happens is you go to the binary format of Atma, Anatma. You have to forget the Karma Kanda format of karma and drop it, and then come to Jnana Kanda and take up the binary format. I will be explaining this binary format more and more in the next 10-12 classes. When I'm taking the Mahavakyam can be understood only in the format of Atma Anatma. It cannot be understood in the format of Jiva Jagat Ishvara. So that you have to forget that format and come and say, I am Atma. So today's meditation was based on Jnana Kanda portion. I am the Atma, which is Nityaha, Nirgunaha, and always Nirvikara. Slowly, the mind has to absorb this change and understand that there is something which is changeless. There is something which is not with attributes. Whatever is with the attributes can be seen. Drishyatva. Whatever is with attributes is sagunaha. Remember the 5 points which I mentioned in the beginning of introduction of this today's session. Drishyatvam, sagunatvam, vikaratvam, agamapahitvam. I mentioned 5 points in the introduction. Just remember that. Always remember those 5 nature of Anatma and nature of Atma. This 5 points is the basis of the entire Jnana Khanda. I'm taking this Mahavakyam is supposed to be the highest knowledge.
Yeah.
There is nothing beyond this Mahavakyam.
That's the ultimate, yes.
It's the highest. I'm trying to take the highest portion of all what the spiritual study is.
Yeah. All Mahavakyas, which covers all. Yeah.
There is no place apart from Vakya Vritti text. There is no other place you'll find all the 4 Mahavakyams are taken up. It is only in Panchadasi.
Yes, yeah. All 4 Vedas,
Yes, all 4 Vedas are taken, all 4 Upanishads are taken, and the 4 Mahavakyas are taken. Where do you find it? Nowhere. In Bhagavad Gita, it is not there.
Correct.
Or in the Upanishads, you just learn one Upanishad, one Mahavakya.
Yeah.
But here we are learning a basket, a shopping mall of Mahavakyams.
Yeah.
Very beautiful text and a very beautiful chapter.
Very important chapter, yes.
Yeah, very interesting sessions are coming in the next, say, 10, 12 sessions. Don't miss it. Even if you miss it, listen to the talk. Even if you don't understand it today, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, whenever you have any doubts on Mahavakyam, these sessions will help you. And you will get the essence. Always remember, it is not that my intellect cannot understand. I will understand. Go with that confidence. You will definitely, even if you don't understand the full thrust of it, doesn't matter. Listen, just listen. The beauty of these sessions is anybody who listens, he will get liberated from his mind. Anybody, it can be anybody, it can be a Russian, it can be American, it can be Japanese, it can be Korean, it can be Chinese, it can be Indian, it can be any. It is just the human mind. The human mind has got ignorance as its nature. That ignorance has to be dispelled. Only way to dispel that ignorance is Mahavakya Shravana. Okay, good, Venkatesh. I'm glad you brought up this point. Anybody else has a question? Okay, there are no questions. We'll stop here and then we'll continue next week. Thank you. Good night. Namaste.
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 Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Shekharji.
Good night, Babu. Thank you.